The engine sputtered. Lena eased her foot off the gas, her heart sinking as the car coasted to a stop. She tried the ignition again. Nothing. Just the groan of the dying engine and the unsettling silence of the dense fog-choked forest pressing in around her. Dusk had settled, turning the world outside her windows into an oppressive gray void. Lena rummaged in her purse for her phone, her pulse quickening. No signal. Typical. She glanced at the ancient map spread out on the passenger seat, its edges frayed and yellowed. She was hopelessly lost, miles off the main road, lured by the promise of a scenic shortcut that now felt foolish. Gathering her courage, Lena stepped out of the car and into the unknown. The going was slow. The undergrowth was thick, tangled branches snagging at her clothes. The fog seemed to wrap around her, clinging to her skin like a shroud. But the light beckoned her forward, a beacon in the deepening gloom. As she drew closer, the vague shape of a structure emerged from the mist. A cabin. Small, dilapidated, with a ramshackle porch and a rusted tin roof. The source of the light was a window, its glass grimy but emanating a warm, inviting glow. Lena approached cautiously, her hand hovering over the pepper spray she'd retrieved from her purse. She tried the handle. It turned with a groan, the door creaking open as if inviting her inside. In the center of the room, a table held a collection of equipment that seemed wildly out of place in the primitive cabin. A jumble of wires and vacuum tubes, a microphone, and an ancient-looking radio, its dials glowing an eerie green. The radio crackled to life, emitting a burst of static that made Lena jump. Then a voice, faint and distorted but undeniably human. "Mayday, Mayday. This is experimental facility. The signal, consuming, no time. God help us." The voice dissolved into a fresh wave of static. Lena stared at the radio, her blood turning to ice. Who was that? And what signal were they talking about? She noticed a map, its edges singed, lying next to the radio. It depicted the surrounding woods with a location circled in red ink. Next to it, scrawled in the same frantic hand, were the words, "Military Facility Abandoned." This was more than just an abandoned cabin. She had to know more. The path to the facility was overgrown and treacherous, swallowed by the encroaching forest. The map was old, its landmarks faded with time, but Lena pressed on, driven by a growing sense of urgency. The facility came into view as the last rays of daylight were fading. It was a sprawling complex, half hidden by trees, its concrete structures crumbling and overgrown. Rusting fences encircled the perimeter, twisted and broken in places. A sign, barely clinging to its post, bore the faded words, "Pinewood Research Institute." As Lena stepped through a gaping hole in the fence, a shiver ran down her spine. Papers littered the overgrown pathways, their once neat lettering now blurred and illegible. One phrase jumped out at her, the signal. Deeper into the facility, Lena discovered a laboratory, its equipment smashed and scattered. Vials of strange, luminescent fluids lay shattered on the floor, their contents oozing across the concrete. The air was thick with the stench of chemicals and decay. It was a scene of utter chaos, as if abandoned in haste. Then she heard it, a low hum, barely audible at first, but growing steadily louder. It seemed to vibrate in her teeth, resonating deep within her skull. The hair on the back of her neck stood on end. Panic welled up inside her. This was it. This was the signal. She had to get out, now. Turning, she ran, her breath catching in her throat. The hum intensified, becoming a roar that seemed to shake the very foundations of the facility. She could feel it now, a presence closing in behind her. She didn't dare look back. She just ran, her lungs burning, her legs screaming for her to stop. The exit, that gaping hole in the fence, seemed miles away, but she had to make it.